All right, welcome back to the Best Training Channel on YouTube. Starting off today, which is going to be an upper body day, we're going to do a variation of a bench press that's going to help work with kind of the assistance of what I'm trying to do. More so focused on the ability to do more repetitions at that 102 or 225 range when it comes to the bench press test. So I'm doing a close grip variation with bands. Close grip is going to basically put you in a position where you got to use a lot more triceps to get this thing moving, which is generally a weak spot for me on the bench press. A lot of times, especially when I'm doing like a 1 rep max, I can get it down to the chest, I can get it off the chest, and then when the triceps need to turn on and really extend and lock out the arms, that's generally that sticking point that I get, which is why I'm choosing this variation for the bench press today. Also, with doing bench press multiple times a week, it's good to have some sort of variance off of whatever the main focus is. So earlier this week, I did bench press, did sets of 5, which is like your typical strength sets and reps type of thing. And then I did an AMRAP myo reps type of thing where I did multiple sets of just 5 seconds, trying to get as many repetitions in that 5 seconds as I could. So the variation today, we're just gonna be doing multiple sets of 4. The bands are going to add a little bit more of accommodating resistance. So as I'm extending through and pushing, I've got to use the triceps even more as the weight gets a little bit heavier as we go. The progression on this movement specifically is going to be the band tension. It's not going to be the external load that we put on the bar. So this week I'm doing 55% of my 1 rep max and I've added some light bands. Next week, I'm gonna stay at that 55% range, but I'm gonna add more band tension to it. So the progression is going to be that band tension and really overload that last extension part and try to work on locking out strong. And we're gonna try to do these repetitions as fast as possible when we're going from the chest and exploding up, which is why I'm putting that pause there for a little bit. This variation, again, like I said, specific towards what I need, but whether or not that's a specific need for you, this is just a great variation to get in some more volume, to work a little bit more variance in terms of specificity on what it is that you're trying to do. So we're gonna do probably 6 sets on this. So a little bit more volume in total sets compared to what we did on Wednesday earlier this week and knock it out. So that's set number 1. Got a few more sets to go. And then we'll move on to the next exercises, which is gonna be a complex of some body weight and some loaded movements. So when doing the pause reps on these, the progression that I'm also going to be doing this is as the band tension gets higher and higher. So over the course of the next probably 4 to 6 weeks, I'm going to start minimizing that pause. I'm being a little bit lazy on that pause right now and only doing about a second or 2 seconds. Really what I'm trying to do is just break up that concentric, eccentric portion so that there's a slight pause and I'm trying to explode out of that rather than just kind of bouncing it off the chest and going. So as the band tension goes up and we're staying at that 55%, we're gonna have a little bit more tension. These are gonna turn into more like traditional speed reps. And this could be looked at as like a West Side barbell type variation in terms of like, I did my max strength work on the day 1 of this week for my upper body. And now I'm doing more dynamic effort or repetition effort type stuff on day 2 on a similar movement. But the pause for now is just to kind of break up that motion, focus on exploding and locking out as strong as possible on these. And then, like I said, as the band tension goes up and up and up, we're just gonna turn this into straight dynamic, take about 30 to 60 second rest in between, probably doing sets of like 2 on that. So we'll end up doing probably, I don't know, 7 to 10 total sets, along with 2 to 3 repetitions on this, just trying to explode and knock it out, rest 30 seconds, explode, lock it out, rest 30 seconds, and just try to get as many of those sets in as powerfully as we can. So My pause now isn't going to be something that I'm going to keep in for the entirety of this program. I'm just doing it for the first few weeks on this. All right, second thing for the day. I said we were gonna go from the bench press into our complexes. I lied. I had a row variation program that I forgot about, so we're gonna do that first. What I originally had planned was an inverted row, which would be kind of setting up a barbell on a rack, getting underneath that barbell, and then pulling your chest up to the bar and back down. What I'm trying to do is pair some sort of dynamic movement for my back after doing a dynamic movement for the chest and triceps. So something that's gonna work a similar plane of motion, but just work in the opposite direction of contraction. So rather than trying to extend and push something away from me, I'm gonna be looking towards trying to pull something towards me now. So rather than doing the inverted row, which is very hard to load externally and progress, I'm gonna be doing a sled variation, but using these bands to take the eccentric out. So I'm just focusing on being dynamic and trying to pull that sled towards me for the 10 to 12 reps that I have planned and be as explosive as possible on that. So I know not everybody probably has the ability to set something up like this. In a perfect world, I wouldn't even use this setup. I would have a very large gym with probably 30 to 40 meters of turf in the middle of the gym and be able to just load up a sled, yank it, take a few steps back, and do this for, I don't know, for distance. So rather than doing sets of 12, I would do sets of 20 meters or 30 meters or 40 meters, whatever it might be. But this is a good alternative when you have limited amount of space and you want to do something a little bit more dynamic like this. So there you have it. We do a few more sets of that, and then we're gonna move on to the complexes. All right, the first accessory complex I'm gonna do is dips and upright rows. So I'm gonna use dumbbells for the upright rows. I'm gonna use this makeshift dip setup for my dips since I don't have a dip bar or any sort of rack to set up dip bars on. So this is gonna be a body weight dip. I'm not quite gonna be loading this up probably for another 6 weeks or so. So this is gonna be a body weight variation on the dip. I'm gonna keep this at about that 3 reps in reserve range, as well as kind of the 10 to 12 reps that I'm gonna do on the upright rows. So with the training program that I have and the combine goals that I have, part of it as well is I want to be able to add a little bit of weight. So I weighed in at 95 kilos when I first started this program. I want to get to about 97. So I'm looking at putting on 2 kilos over the course of 12 weeks, which shouldn't be very difficult to do. Another thing I'm trying to experiment with this program is like going for that holy grail of sports performance training, which is like bigger, faster, and stronger. So if I can do all 3 of those, I would be very happy. If I added a little bit of weight, I got a little bit faster, got a little bit stronger. That's kind of that holy grail, the holy trinity of sports performance training. So in order to do that, I've got to do a little bit of hypertrophy work. So we're going to go to that 3 reps in reserve range. We're going to do probably 3 to 4 sets on this. Oh. 23. And then we're going to choose a load that we're going to try to do 10 to 12 reps, again in that 3 reps in reserve range. So I think I'm going to go with 20 kilos. That should be a good number on that. So again, straight from the dips into the upright rows. Now these aren't gonna be the most strict upright rows you've ever seen. You're gonna see me kind of hinge and pull up a little bit. I'm not too worried about making this like a traditional bodybuilding movement. So not a true 3 reps in reserve. Might go up to 22, 25 kilos on the next set, but do at least 3 sets on that until I really feel like fatigue setting in. And then the next complex we're gonna do is going to be a pull-up plus an overhead press, working on the same thing. 3 reps in reserve, get a pump, do a lot of volume, get a little bit of a hypertrophy stimulus. All right, last thing for today. Same concept, 3 reps in reserve. We're gonna do on a supinated grip, chin up, and then 10 to 12 reps at that 3 reps in reserve range on a dumbbell overhead press. We're gonna do again about 3 sets on this until really fatigue sets in and I feel like the quality's going down. At most, it'll be 4 sets. But supinated grip, just a variation. I've done a lot of regular pull-ups lately. I just wanted to change up the grip on this a little bit. Ooh, 15 is good. Probably gonna be a little bit conservative on this first set on the 12, and I'll go, I mean, I feel like 20 kilos is good. 20 kilos might end up being a little bit heavy, but we'll see. That was actually good amount of weight on that one. So, like I said, a few more sets of that, and that's gonna be it for today's session. But I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.